Ireland and South Africa, folks. That was a weird game. It was heavily carded and heavily penalised. South Africa get a win. Rassie had not won at the Aviva, I don't think, at any point in his career as a coach. So he gets the win, 24 points to 13. But it's a weird game. So many cards, so many penalties. It wasn't exactly the most kind of flowing example that you are going to show to someone who's a new fan of the sport, but it did have a very intense finish, which certainly got the crowd behind it. Ireland couldn't quite get back within that score to make it a game. South Africa were comfortably keeping Ireland at arm's length for the game. But South Africa likewise couldn't put that final nail in the Irish coffin, despite the fact they had a man advantage for so long. So I don't think either coach walks away from this one completely happy. But certainly Rassie, the fact that he gets a win over a very highly ranked Irish side is still going to be another kind of check off the box, because it's one thing he hadn't done yet, is win over in Ireland. Ireland had a genuinely pretty decent record against a Rassie Springbok side, which has been so successful over all these years. But yeah, it was a weird game. Very weird game. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Ireland had the first attack. Jasper Wiese getting himself over the ball at the breakdown managed to shut the Irish guys down. And then South Africa, probably the most kind of flow that happened the entire game to score a try was their first one. Damian Willemse got a hell of a try. First entry, I think, into the Irish 22. And it was try time. Up the guts from the forwards and then wide ball. I think it was Sasha, Colby, Pieter-Steph all got their hands on the ball. Willemse finishes it, misconversion, but 5 points to 0. Cracking start for South Africa because they've shut down the first Irish attack and then scored pretty much with their first opportunity. Ireland did look to hit back. They had James Lowe cracking play down the left wing. They shifted it right. Tommy O'Brien. There's kind of a controversial moment where we don't see a card because Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu hit Tommy O'Brien with a not great looking hit. Like, the more you look at it, it's just no arms. Again, I was thinking to myself prior to this game, please don't let there be any borderline no arms headshot calls involving South African players after the last couple of weeks we've had. But McCarthy, who I do find a hard referee to predict at times, maybe more so in this game than most, but he just says it's a penalty only. I feel like that one probably could have gone to the bunker. I don't know that he got him that high. One that the bunker could have a look at and freeze frame it, but certainly it wasn't a good look. He's maybe a touch lucky to get away with that one, although there's one involving Tommy O'Brien the other way later on, which you could argue is a touch lucky as well. But either way, at this point, I'm probably pretty happy the referee is keeping his cards in his pockets, because otherwise we would have had a even higher card count than we saw. But penalty only, Ireland go for touch, a bunch of phases, Lowe, Hansen, and there's another breakdown turnover. So I think it was Thomas du Toit. Good defensive play again from the box to keep the Irish attack out. So it's kind of 2 chances for the Irish, none taken. 1 for the box, 1 taken. So deserved 5 points to 0 lead. And then there's a chance for the Irish to hit a 3. I guess kind of a switch and tack. 18 minutes on the clock. Might as well take the shot at goal. Hits the post. Very kickable penalty. Very kickable penalty, but Sam Prendergast can't quite slot that one. But the Irish, the first 3 things, James Lowe pounces on the ball. So it's kind of one of those ones inadvertently gives them a bit of a territorial advantage because they end up with the ball down South Africa's end. Close range phases. And it looks like Tadhg Beirne's going over for the first try of the game from an Irish perspective. But it's not, because James Ryan is a bit of an idiot. I'm sorry to say it, but geez, that's dumb. That is the dumbest of dumb cleanouts on Malcolm Marx. What is he doing? He just flies into him. There's no control. He's not on his feet. He hits him right in the head with his shoulder. What are you doing? That is brain-meltingly stupid. And it's not only got you yellow carded initially, it'll get upgraded to red, but it's cost your side the first points that they would have had in the game. Tadhg Beirne had gone over for a try. So you want a key moment in the game, it's that one for sure. That one is totally within their own control. No need for that. Absolutely no need. I know Malcolm Marx is a threat at the breakdown, but geez, you can't be doing that. Then the game has a few errors, like Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu misses the resulting penalty to touch, and then Prendergast kicks out on the full. I think someone else kicked out on the full a bit, like Tommy O'Brien kicked a bit long out on the full not too long later. So there was no real pressure being built from either way, and the South Africans are not making the most of the man advantage for sure, which I guess is a little bit the story of this game. Like, I don't think Russie will be happy with the finishing in terms of like man advantage. Like, he should be being clinical. Doesn't really happen, but it looks like the South Africans did finally get the score. Creel had a nice carry up the guts when they stopped kicking the ball. Nokia looked to have been on the receiving end of a Jasper Wiese offload, which finished in a Springboks try, but they find there's an offload forward. I think it was pretty clearly forward from Wiese to Nokia, so chalked off. But then the South Africa scrum, which had been looking good already prior to James Ryan's card, really starts to go to work on the Irish pack. They were without the big body of James Ryan in that second row, but as I said, even when he was on, it was under the pump. They get the penalty at scrum time. They go for touch. They maul at advantage. Scrum, maul. Tommy O'Brien and Moody have that collision that I mentioned earlier. Like, it's another one that probably could have gone to the bunker, but McCarthy keeps it kind of consistent. That it's another one that he just says is a penalty only. O'Brien could have been lower. Moody's a pretty big guy, so you got to be up pretty high to be hitting him high. But Moody is coming down, I guess, a little bit at the last minute. So I don't know. He finds enough in it to only give it a penalty. No bunker, so no card. But another scrum, another advantage. And then eventually, Reinach gets the try with a snipe. It's a heap of pressure. Pieter-Steph had a big carry in the build-up, so good conversion of that pressure at last from South Africa. It had been coming for a while, and it's kind of salt in the wound for the Irish because Prendergast gets yellow carded as well after the try for having been offside in the build-up. So 12 points to 0. That is a pretty nice lead for South Africa. However, somehow 13-man Ireland managed to score a try. It's their only try of the game, and they had 13 men on the field at the time, which is not going to be one that Russie will be happy about because two-man advantage and you concede a try. It's quite unbelievable. It starts with a soft penalty, the breakdown conceded from South Africa, which gives Ireland a chance to, just at least kill some of the double yellow card time. Go for touch. Ryan Baird, a hell of a one-handed line-out take. That guy's going to need some credit in the build-up. This one, they maul it, they get advantage. And Aki goes close with a big carry, and then Sheehan goes over for Ireland's only try of the game, 12 points to 7. Somehow back to game on. And then I feel like, again, in terms of like bad decision-making, which you could call stupid, there's another one before half-time. It looks like on 39 minutes, because Ireland just need to get to the half-time whistle, right? Yellow cards are still ticking down. The red card, which has been upgraded, is ticking down not that far away. Just get to the halftime sheds. It looks like Cobus Reinach knocked it on at the base of ruck. Hey, Ireland are going to have kind of a free exit here. But no, it turns out the reason he knocked it on is because Jack Crowley had a wee cynical hand in at the breakdown, which sees him get yellow carded. So Ireland lose another man to a card, and it's a very, very preventable one because the cameras spot that stuff most of the time these days. We might not have seen it from the wide shot, but the fact that he suddenly bobbles the ball is worthy of a look for the TMO. He spots it, yellow card, and that means Ireland go back under pressure. It means the South Africans keep calling for scrums. There's a yellow card warning against Porter for continually conceding at scrum time. Russie brings on a couple of new props to exert even more pressure, and sure enough, Porter gets carded for too many penalties conceded at scrum time, and is a penalty try. So, penalty try from the next scrum. They don't get a second yellow card for that one, which is maybe a bit of a let-off, because sometimes when there's a penalty try, they just give another yellow card. But Ireland, 12 men on the field. Goodness gracious me. It is bonkers stuff. So 19 points to 7 lead for the Boks at halftime. They've had 59% of the ball, 57% of the territory, and Ireland have conceded 10 penalties to 5. Their teams like to keep it under 10 penalties for an entire game, let alone a half. So it is a horrendous amount to be conceding. I think Porter had, was it 4 of them? It was a lot. It was a lot at half time. But that being said, like, the Irish have busted more South African tackles, so the South Africans haven't been cutting the Irish to bits, barring the kind of Willems try. Second half starts, Ireland with 12 men on the field managed to get Prendergast back on the field before conceding any more points. Their line-out being not straight was a bit of a let-off and a continuing bit of an issue. In a tighter game, it might have cost the Boks, but not in this one. And then South Africa conceded a penalty not too long later at line-out time as well. So again, extra men on the field conceding points as Prendergast slots a 3, although that would be the end of the Irish scoring. But they're up to... No, it's not the end of the Irish scoring. They're on 10 points now. They've still got one more penalty to come. So 10 points on the board, although the South African scrum kind of continues to go to work. And we see another pretty nice play. It's a one-on-one defender beaten opportunity. It is more men on the field, so they should be doing this kind of thing. But Reinach to Sasha. Sasha gives Gibson-Park the big don't argue, and try time for the Boks. So 24 points to 10. They're starting to look pretty comfortable for the Boks. But like I said, that's their final scoring. There's still half an hour game time to go, and there's still man advantage. But the Irish did manage to win. Turnovers are on their own line. They managed to get themselves back to 15 on 15. And I remember Baird held up Visa at one point. So their defence, Ireland, was pretty cracking to hold out the relentless Boks, who were just able to get so many, scrum advantages and whatnot. So that was pleasing from a defensive perspective. But like from South Africa, it would have been nice to get Colby into some action. The guy is a lethal weapon. You got extra men on the field. There's going to be space somewhere. Didn't really see it. Gibson-Park did well to milk a nice penalty when Steenekamp was rolling away at the breakdown to get Ireland 3 points. They slotted that one. 13 points to 24. That is the final scoring of the game. And we still have like 25 minutes to go. Ireland went offside. Creel got held up. Again, more penalties conceded at scrum time. Paddy McCarthy got yellow carded at scrum time this time. So again, back to man disadvantage Ireland, but their defence just kept holding. South Africa mauls, phases, defence holds. And then, annoyingly, like with the man advantage, the Boks just kept peppering the Irish with high balls. Again, like, I want Colby to not just be chasing high balls. I want him to be doing Cheslin Colby stuff, getting the footwork going, getting some run meters, getting some defenders beaten. Like, Caelan Moodie was getting his hands on the ball a lot more than Colby. He was looking dangerous, but even he was a little bit limited. So They peppered them with the high balls. Some of them they retained. The Irish did all right under a fair few of them, but against 14 men, couldn't find any points. South Africa did concede a penalty kind of 74 minutes-ish to put themselves under a wee bit of pressure. We had a strange moment where we had Achia Snyman yellow card, as if there weren't enough yellow cards in this game, for continual penalties after an Irish maul had kind of gone close and Van der Flier had gone close. But then they call it back because Van der Flier had actually been in touch prior to the continual penalties, which had seen Achia carded. So they bring him back on the field after going off. And then the Irish go back on attack. They concede another yellow card. Anyway, Grant Williams gets one. The Irish are desperately trying to chase down a try to bring it back within a score, but they can't get it done. The Boks held them up really well. Like Kelleher, 5-meter taps, and the Irish were banging on the door, but they were probably knackered from a lot of defending that they had done earlier. So neither side in the last 25 minutes gets any points on the board. So it was a weird game. As I said, it's still a good victory away from home from a Springbok side who doesn't usually, they don't have a good record over this Irish side. To beat them away from home by more than a score, it's a great result. But it was just a weird watch. Possession and territory finished with the Boks, although it evened up a wee bit as the Irish had a decent period in the kind of final 10 minutes. Line breaks is 4-5 to the Boks, which is not emphatic considering all the cards that the Irish guys had. And then like turnovers conceded is 20 by the Boks to 13 by Ireland. So again, a little bit too much coughed up ball. I feel like the Boks will not be happy with how lacking that kind of clinical edge they were. Penalty counts horrendous, 18-13 against Ireland, so 31 penalties all up. Neither side would have been happy with either of those penalty counts. Ireland 4 yellows and a red. South Africa the 1 yellow. And a half, I guess, because one gets called back. Don't know. Individuals. Colby. the stats at the moment after the game immediately have him with a carry. And he had a hand in like the first try. He had a pass. But like, bro, guy was not involved in the game, especially in terms of like ball in hand stuff. I would have liked to have seen more of that. But like Visa, heaps of carries up the guts for sure. Moody was like busting tackles. He busted 3 of them. James Lowe, a bunch of carries as well. 11 carries. He had 49 metres and beat 3 defenders. Doris was tackling the house down with 14. Thomas Toy tackling the house down. Ruan Nokia tackling the house down. So like there's some big defensive shifts from both sides. Close range defense, which was pretty amazing stuff. But it was a weird game. Porter and Paddy McCarthy both had 4 penalties conceded. So getting pretty well hammered at scrum time. But yeah, 21-13. What a strange game. You guys let us know your thoughts. Were you enthralled? Were you bored? Somewhere in between? It is definitely different from what I expected. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.